Goes on. Hello everybody, it's Slaan here. We are definitely live this time. I never realised that I streamed the first part. I done 90 minutes thereabouts and it was unlisted. So I do apologise about that. But at the very least, if you want to catch up with where I'm at and how I'm going to kind of tackle the new city hub that I'm going to build, the first 5 or 10 minutes maybe's where I show off the workspace, the base city block. Can we load that up quickly now? I'll just save this because this is where I'm at now, but just so that you don't have to go through a fucking 90-minute video, I'll quickly show you the prefab that I spent a little while talking about. City blocks. There it is there. So this isn't necessarily a direct sort of, this is how we're going to build the city, but the measurements and the size of the streets, the general pattern of the streets, we've got a wider one, a skinny one, and the first video was basically how I'm going to kind of go about incorporating initially some of the vanilla prefabs into a sort of city. Not all the prefabs are suitable really for the how do you say, sort of concrete jungle theme we're going to try and achieve, but quite a few of them are, like the skyscrapers, the theatre, the hospital. So, you know, I think it's worthwhile if you're interested in sort of following how I'm doing it and maybe having a stab yourself to maybe watch the first 5 or 10 minutes of the other video. So today's video though, as titled, is the sewer system planning and making the initial test street. And I've decided I don't want to repeat of what we had in Alpha 12, where we had a fixed sort of cross section of sewer that was underneath every single city block. It's a bit of a lazy way to do it these days, and it adds a whole bunch of blocks and extra stuff in there that does impact performance. And if we want several of these systems going on, I think it just a big, massive tiled approach isn't the best way to do it. The other thing to factor in is some of the prefabs that we're going to want to put onto these city blocks are going to have basements, and we're going to hit a point where you're going to have to build something custom for a particular prefab to work around it, but I would still like to have some kind of base system that we can seed under all of the city blocks that, for example, don't have basements, where the ground space is totally clean. And I think initially to get this in, I'm going to have the base sewer system itself run underneath just the wider street. Now, this road might be the main road that splits the hub in half, and I've always kind of intended this to be a dual lane, so you've got 3 lanes of single direction traffic, and we'll double this up. So to have this as the first initial section of tunnels, it means we can build in connectors that would, one, join directly to a city block if a city block had the sewer sections built into it, or in the case of a prefab or a city block that's got a basement, we might want to build a custom piece of sewer that still connects to the same point, but then maybe snakes around or does whatever it's going to do. And it also means on the outside edge of the city, we've still got the freedom to either just put little stoppers on there, like little prefabs designed to close open tunnels off and things like that, or we've got the option of building out and, I don't know, doing whatever it is you want to do. So after a bit of measuring and fiddling, that we had looking prefab we were staring at just before I started the stream, so the 19 meter. So you can see I've already had a go at this, but decided initially that this is roughly the base measurements that I've got. Now there's a weird little issue that I'm going to have in that the streets are 106 blocks long, which means they split perfectly in half. So when I rotate this, like let's just say I'm going to have 4 sections of this street surrounding a city block, I can't build something that's going to fit directly onto this sewer section because this is the dividing point here, and it's not going to be perfectly symmetrical. So when I come to rotate it, this centre block on the opposite side, on the northern side of the city block, is going to be here. So there's a little bit of fuckery to be done, but rather than dick around with the streets and rather than dick around with the sewer sets, I think that's one thing that I'm just going to work around. It might come back to bite us in the arse later on, but I'm still quite confident I can make it work. And before I start building out, the initial idea is just to get a base tunnel section. That's the length of this street. That's going to have 2 purple connectors here. And these purple connectors basically just, I colour coded everything. So you can vaguely see in the thumbnails there. And what I do have are, I would have to go into the master prefab and show you. But what I do have is a connector that's designed to convert a red tunnel, like this big wide tunnel, into the smaller one, which initially I had intended to run through the 9-metre streets. But I'd rather just have a small tidy system and then expand on it if we can, than have a big mess that I've got to trim down and undo a lot of work, because these streets are essentially going to be the base prefabs that we use to build the actual streets of the city hub. So we want this system not to be perfect, but as close as possible, because ultimately any flaws in this prefab are going to be copied through everything else we make from it. So these are going to fork out at the halfway point, and it means any city blocks that are adjacent, we've got a fixed point to connect to if we want to. If it's not applicable, we'll probably just cap the tunnel off, or we'll convert it to the smaller tunnel size with another prefab. And then I'm picturing having like a cross section, like a small tunnel that sits underneath the city block. But when it comes to connectors and storm drains and things like that, it's there's a little bit of planning to be done, but it's all going to basically start with this street. So it sits perfectly. I believe the centre of the road is the centre of the tunnel, because all of these are odd numbers of blocks wide as well. So it should look quite tidy. But what I don't want, because this is a big single prefab, just one long empty sort of tunnel. And it doesn't look too bad with the imposter blocks, and you've got to think that, especially being surrounded by concrete, this is going to be naturally quite dark, so these lights are going to, add a lot of sort of atmospheric effect. But ultimately, tunnels I don't think look too good in distant terrain when they go on forever. That's why I've got all these stupid pipes. It just breaks up the empty space. But what I'm thinking is we'll use some of the... I'm not sure if it's going to be easier to copy and paste out. Right. Before we start fanning on with other prefabs, let's just do the little fixture, because this needs expanded. We need to make this as wide as the actual street itself. I'll do that. I'll just copy that, bring it out one layer, paste it in. Alright, so basically take them, delete. Do we need that space then? Not really. So let's fill that. But it's going to be nice, I think, to plan the sewer system from the beginning, because there's a lot of nice prefabs there, some good ideas, and they never really got truly realised. Control and C. Now the other thing I want to do that's important after I paste this in is we've got a lot of textures here that we don't need. Like if you can imagine, I've just copied this wall twice, so we've got two painted layers that are in between blocks that we're never going to see unless we break them. So quickly, we're just going to hit not strip textures, strip internal textures. And that just cleans all that stuff up. Apparently we still have issues with prefabs where textures are still loaded if they're visible, even if they're not within your field of view. So because we're going to have this shit running all the way under the city, we want to save performance wherever we can. So that's expanded out. We need to basically do the same on this side. You. Ha ha ha, hello C. Yeah, I had a bit of a late night last night. I was playing Craftopia, some weird, I don't know, hack and slash Zelda, Minecraft, fucking, it's like there's 20 different games all crammed into one there. Glitchy as fuck. It seemed quite fun. What the fucking hell is a PDF? Oh, it didn't fix the pity, yeah. Right, hold on. One of them. There. There. Oh man, I just made it worse. What did I do it on this side without fucking dicking around with anything? Ah, I didn't. Fuck's sake. Right, hold on, I need me super digger. And the thing is, it's important I get this fucking shit done now because, like I say, if this is going to be the base prefab that I make a lot of prefabs from, then getting the silly things at least fixed properly at the beginning. Right, so I need that. Can we get away with on face? Oh, come on, fuck. So you there. You there. And you actually can fix that very easily, can't we? Yeah, I think mic-wise it's quite comfortable now, but the problem that I've got is I still ultimately, if I'm going to have like Discord and stuff going, I'm still going to have headphones on. I was actually just flicking through earlier on through Twitch and stuff at the people that I watch, because obviously they talk to people on Discord sometimes, and I'm like, do they always wear headphones? But like, yeah, every single one of them. So I just need a straight and then one of them. Like that. What are you doing, man? They look good. They look good. They look good. However, I never realised that obviously I'm copy and pasting all that shit there. So what I might do is just take 2 rows of that. Nah, I'm just going to leave them. It doesn't affect walking and running. The important thing is I've already got prefabs that are designed to attach straight to these sides, so the rest of this is going to be fairly easy. The only thing that we can't do is fuck around with water yet. I'd always planned having maybe 2 or 3 blocks of water here, but I can use the editor, like Pill's prefab editor, to convert the water directly to air. Convert the air, sorry, directly to water. And when you load it up, it's nice and perfect. But once you've had the prefab in this editor and you save it again, the water just goes to shit. So it's easy enough to do if ever water gets fixed or they decide what they want to do with it. The good thing is structurally this should, for the most part, be quite sound. There might be areas, but at least a street section like this is going to open the doors to, like, if you remember in old Slaan, some of the areas where the streets themselves were destroyed. There's a lot of ways that we can make entrances into the system, and I just want to make sure that I get that stuff in at the beginning. Otherwise, I've got a whole bunch of sewer prefabs that I spent ages making that just aren't getting used for anything. Right, I'm happy with that now though for the time being. So I'm going to save that, and then now this one glitched out of fuck the last time and I had to close the whole freaking game down. But what I'm looking for is a prefab that is purple on one side and yellow on the other. But this is what I meant with the tunnel. So this is that exact section that we've got there. This little prefab here is designed just to cap the tunnel off. Whereas on the other side, you know, this fits in exactly the same place, but converts the prefabs to using this sort of lower system. And this is the bit that I'm going to go a bit more crazy with. I think I'm probably even just going to trim these side tunnels down. Make it just this nice, simple little single tunnel. And then if you can imagine a city block being 106 by 106, having just a little snake of this tunnel that connects one side to the other or wraps around particular basements and other prefabs, and as long as they all join on the same sides, they might only be good for one particular rotation, but you can still copy and paste to a certain extent. But these are still quite big chunks. What is this? But that's not what I want for the street. What I want for the street is I was sure I had something that joins to this red tunnel that converts it to a single tunnel. That I could then maybe open back out to a red. That's pink. Yellow to blue. Maybe I don't have this prefab. Let's just have a little look. Hold on. Right. So I actually built some custom pieces. So this was my first proper stab at using the sewers as proper prefabs, and we only got 2 streets worth. I think it was about twice as long and like twice as wide overall. It's just rammed full of sleepers, an absolute nightmare. But as you can imagine though, for a big single prefab, you can't see straight through. It's not too bad at this level. But you know, there's a lot of walls and that sort of thing. I'm not too sure I want to copy and paste any of this out, to be honest. Maybe it's just this little door bit. All of these sleeper blocks have different names, so it means I won't have to manually remove them. So how much do I want though? If I take it here, it means I can, in fact no, we'll have to go mid-tunnel. Fucking zombie bane also, so I have to make sure I get that out. Right. So I'm just literally copying that, and then we're just going to load the other prefab up. It's the 19-meter one. Is that rotated the right way? I don't think it is. Yeah, it's definitely not. So I'll paste that in there, but before we actually drop it in, I'm just going to press X, which will rotate it. And that should have... Oh no, it doesn't work, does it? Like that, you've got to actually paste it in, then rotate it. No, it's because we've extended this out, man. That's why it looks like it's a... Right. Oh, well, on that note then, let's just delete that. Slide that motherfucker straight along. Get rid of him. Sleepers I'm going to approach, we will incorporate them in to the base tile, maybe. It's usually something I would add to the actual individual street prefabs. But we'll see. But for now, I'm just going to get rid of them. No, don't delete stuff we don't want. Right. And as you can see, having them prefabs already made, it's not going to take too long. And then we've still got the freedom of coming in and making a custom street section that has a particular junction that fits in a particular place if we need to go that far. But initially, just getting something in that is basic and works is it'll give her a chance to see what it's like playing around with just like a few city blocks worth of sewers and that sort of things. I'd like to bring the subways back at some point as well. Now I want these to end with the basic red sections, so it's just the junction, isn't it? North and east. Brings to about there. Now, do they have water? Oh, and look at that, there's that little prefab that I've actually used. Oh, I think that's converting to the small tunnel, actually. Be interesting. What I actually want is something like that. The fucking one time. Right, okay. Right, 2 seconds. That's... We'll live with that. It's alright. Let's get rid of that so I can actually see. Yeah, so them conduits are a bit... Get away from the light. Yeah, them conduits just look fucked up. I don't even know why I done that. Some classic copy paste gone fucking bad. Wow, oh. Let's fix this issue right away. Fuck off! And the other thing, quickly strip internal textures. We'll just make sure. So that's looking okay. All we need to do is basically extend that out 2 layers, which I think, yeah, we can do directly from that slice. Still got a couple of sleepers over there. Otherwise, I think we're looking alright. I mean, we'll have to fill that stuff there with terrain filler. We got a similar sort of thing going on. Because we still have the choice, if you think these are going to be the streets, but we're still going to have to factor in the corner junction sections where the roads meet. And again, it's guaranteed empty space that we can use to cap off these bigger tunnels or to join them to another sort of different colour coded section or whatever we decide to do. So did I save that? Oh, didn't. Let's save that in. Reload that. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking when I built these fucking conduits. Definitely reeks of copy and paste gone wrong and just being lazy. Need to spend all the time matching the fucking pipes up and chasing them all over the place just to bloody taint it with some shit like that. And I know these pipes in some ways are a bit pointless, but I've always liked the idea of being able to hop around them and jump across. Ah. There's an issue. However, this particular prefab it's just why you would just have a random pipe nozzle there. It's beyond me. Oh, get rid of you as well. Right, let's save that again. Right, north and east, it's this way. Looks like it's got water on the thumbnail, but I'll be honest, I don't remember ever... Yeah, I'm sure I took it all out. Oh god. So now we just slide that off. And slide along. What? This one doesn't even have the fucking pipes. Not a problem. We'll run them across manually. And that's the money shot there. Or is it? Yes, it looks okay. So let's copy that rotation there. Interesting. Two different coloured pipes as well. Right, we'll fix that soon. Never thought about the paint scheme that I had used. However, I'm kind of thinking I might not be able to directly replace excuse me, that paint throughout this entire prefab, depending. It's going to change the railings. This is where Pills Editor comes into things. What I am thinking though is I can probably mass replace these colours with that colour without really affecting anything. Something to think of at least anyway. Right, so therein this needs extended out 2 layers. Then we need to strip the internal textures, and then I believe we're good to go. Fuck's sake. Right, let's just be greedy and take 2. Get rid of that shit. And there you go, we've just built a 19 metre wide, 106 metre long section of sewer, and it took with the best part of 40 minutes. And from this point on, assuming that the street didn't need no more further adjustments, you know, it's very easy to come in here and make it look a little bit lived in and add a few changes, a bit of damage here and there. But first and foremost, that looks kind of cool there. Right, and let's give this painting bullshit a go. Can I just get this one? Yep, that's right. So I believe, actually I should save this first, just in case it does go fucking tits up. But I believe as long as I don't have anything selected, if I make the mass replacement, it should do it just to the full prefab. So if I go replace paint, boom. Interesting. I wonder if that little, is that a different texture? Yeah, some fucking funky stuff going on there. Oh god. And we've got more fucking conduits. Right, let's get rid of this shit as well. Yeah, it's very easy to go over the top of decoration there. Because what we want is just a nice, clean, tidy street that we can expand on. And then we've just got to make sure that we're happy with it when we start taking copies to make the actual city prefabs with. But for the most part, right. So the other thing to consider with this prefab is going to be like damage to the sidewalks, any base decorations that will, well, not necessarily decorations like cars and stuff, but you know, there's going to be a certain level of sort of litter and things like that that you're going to want in there that you don't mind being copied over. But for now, let's just save you. Because as mentioned in the title and at the beginning, we also want to have a look at what this looks like against an actual city block, which again I was fucking around with in the stream that I didn't stream live. So we could there, let's make a thumbnail for this now, and I'll take it so that we can see that purple connector roughly in the middle. What am I doing? Update thumbnail. What does the imposter look like for this, I wonder? For fucking hell, absolutely terrible. Interesting. Interesting indeed. I wonder if this is where my funny terrain issue stems from. What's so special about those little blocks there, or potentially these pipes, that makes this happen? Because come on, that's fucking... that straight away just looks like a broken fucking texture or something. And the funny thing is, these bits seem okay. I think what I should probably do is load this up in Pills Editor and have a look at these, so this prefab in particular, layer by layer, just to see if there's different block IDs or something like that. You know, what's so special about this straight section of pipe that doesn't make this happen? Or is it this particular block in the ceiling? I don't know. But yeah, that's definitely going to spoil things. I mean, typically you're not going to see that from... It's going to be like here. But, you know, it's noticeable. It's going to look off. That said, even not knowing what it is, it's quite clearly only some blocks, and as I've said many times before, a lot of the bits that I've got have been converted through 2 or 3, sometimes even more alphas, so it's hard to say what things were originally and what they've ended up as now. So like when a block that doesn't exist anymore gets converted, it's just given like the closest one or whatever someone actually decides it's going to turn into, and if that's painted, you might not necessarily notice that actually that's wood, not bricks. It's just painted like bricks, and it's been quite messy for the really old prefabs. But I want to have a look at this in the World Editor now, so we'll just save that again. So this is the map that you'll download. If you add this to your worlds folder, the project map to your worlds folder, this is what you'll see. I don't think it will show you the bits that we're about to look at now, but you know, it's easy enough to have a fly around, see what I've done, and use it to have a tinker around with. Don't forget, if you're watching live, if you've got any questions, feel free to fire away. Yeah, so this was kind of the testing that I was doing in yesterday's stream. We just wanted to have a look at what would the street look like, how would it blend in with a city block that was designed to blend in with a vanilla prefab. You know, so I was talking about things like eventually each of these long streets is going to be unique, and we'll have to chisel in the changes that are going to make them all fit together. But then you have things like this where you've got not enough space to drop in another prefab, and this is all decoration space. In some instances we might extend the features of the prefab somehow, but for the most part this is going to be areas where we have, I don't know, a little maintenance hatch that maybe goes down and connects it to the sewer system. But what we want to do is replace this street with the one that we've just made. So to do that, we need to be able to see that prefab first of all. Just highlight him, press K, and it's gone. Now, until I press save, that prefab is still going to be on the prefabs XML for the world. So even if we have a massive fuck up or it just looks like a right mess, you can just quit out, and as long as you don't save it, everything will be as it was. We want street. Oh, let's see what. That's the one. Oh, for fuck's sake, I've double clicked instead of bloody... Right, this is just gonna... Sorry. So when you double click a prefab like that in the editor, it would just load that prefab up. In the World Editor, it, I don't know, fucked up stuff happens. So we'll load that up again. And then we'll try and load it up properly this time. But you've got to think though, once you've got some time invested into all of these little pieces, the actual placing and making up of the city happens very quickly. You know, we'll spend weeks going over this sort of stuff, and then it'll be like the week after that, bam, there we go. Right, so let's do that again. Show bounds. Don't know what that was. Don't really care either. Delete. Load into. Nice. So we're just going to guess. Oh, well, we could see the imposter block already, but that's got to easily be at least 10 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, we went too far off. Another 2. Lovely jubbly. Let's save that. And then go straight back in to see what it loads up like. Because this is kind of where I can kind of show the two different ways I suppose I could do the sewers from this point. Because with all those little individual prefabs, we could literally do what I'd done with the streets and just place them in the World Editor, place, and just put all them things down. But I don't know. I worry that like 800 prefabs in a concentrated little area, when realistically you could probably do it with 200, is might cause problems further down the line. But there, obviously it all fits in. And the other thing to consider, have we got a way to get... Oh yeah, we'll have this, some ladders there. So we've still got no way to get in and out, but I mean, as a concept, it means... Let's look at this side. So there's an actual prefab on here. Let's just say this city block was finished. We've got empty space here that we could either just cap this off into a smaller tunnel, and if you can imagine each road, or the two main roads on the opposite sides, and then just join that in. And initially, that's about as advanced as I want the system to be. And then once you've got the initial sort of city area all linked up with a basic system, all the ends are capped off, that's when we can maybe start looking at some of the dungeons that I've done in the sewers in the old Slaan Hatton map, getting things like that in. But for the most part, I quite like that. And so, just to give you a little bit of an example, I could now go north and east. So if I place a block there, and this would have probably been the way that I was going to do it, maybe it's with just bigger prefabs. But if I take... It's going to have to be something that connects to the purple. Right, okay, that'll do. So it's not clipping, I don't think. That's sitting just outside. It's hard to say with all these overlapping bounds where the skyscraper one starts and ends. Yeah, so this is literally touching the actual, so there's no overlap at all there. Right, now this is going to be a bit weird. Especially that luminous green fucking wall. So I've got a 1 block gap which I need to close. That's going to have to come along a bit. 3 on that side. Is that designed to go there? Yes, but it's the wrong way around. Okay, so that's just X. See, it's just making holes in the terrain as it goes. But as long as those line up, which they do, so I can now save that. And then just to quickly load that back up. And this was the point where you might make a sewer-based dungeon that's just got one of those colour-coded caps on one end that you might want to put in a few spots throughout the sewer. And a bit like the roads, I've got 2 general sort of sizes of, well, 3, I think it's probably. Right, so here we are back on the junction, and they're on this side. So this is a T-junction that opens out again onto red cap prefabs. So they could go into corners, and where you've got empty space like this, you could literally just place everything down and then just connect it up to the tunnel on the other side. Or this is the entrance, and this little T-junction is a little custom loop of tunnel that's designed to be its own little dungeon. And this is why I've put a lot of effort into the pieces as opposed to into the finished product, because these are all infinitely reusable. It's just finding the best way to use them. And I think now we're going to see the mix of the city blocks and this little jigsaw sort of method kind of blend together quite well. Because in the Alpha 12 city blocks, we had no control spawning those big grid cities through random gen and getting things into the world that would spawn on the roads. So where we had the old tram system, it would line up with the next city block, but there would always be the gaps over every street, and we kind of don't have that limitation now. But I could, like I say, just build these prefabs out piece by piece and place them piece by piece. And I think ultimately the finished product of the city will still, instead of having a system like this, where you've got like loads of individual street prefabs, loads of bits and stuff dropped on top of a city block with individual prefabs slotted in between, one big prefab with the few buildings on, and then the connections of the sewer. I think it's a better way to do it. Not that these street sections are bad, but they're just good ways of making up decent single street size prefabs. Everything being a different size here, I've really fucked around with things. Even like the prefabs themselves, when you look at the park sections, they're all different sizes, designed to work around a custom prefab. And what we've got going on over here? So this is mostly just waste buildings and stuff. But again, even placements like this on a city block, these could be fixed to the city block. You know, they're only the basic ruin prefabs. There's not like there's complicated sleeper volumes or crazy quests and tricks and parkour routes to go through. But then, you know, a little bit of tidying up. Maybe this was ruined apartments. Let's have a little car park area or the basketball court, something built into the city block. Get all of these kind of built into a single piece. And then that might make a nice tile, you know, like a big filler city block filled with just ruins to keep the sort of skyline and the height looking tall without actually clogging it up with massively detailed like skyscrapers and things like that. You'll see that's generally what I've done around here, is on the outsides of the city we just use all these ruined buildings as filler around the interesting things. Get the obvious stuff in there that people would expect to see in a city, the car parks, the park, the businesses, and then just fill the rest of it with that wasteland shite. But yeah, there's a lot of time invested in placing all these individual bits that just shouldn't need to have been done. I should have been able to work out where all these bits needed to be and spent a couple of hours on the actual XML just plotting the quads and boom, doing it in one go. So there's with planning the city blocks and the sizes and stuff like that, it just helps further down the line. Right, and so let's get back over here. Because the other thing I want to do is look at those shorter tunnels. Because like I say, I want to try and keep, if it's going to be over the full city or over a large, or under a large chunk of the city, we want to try and keep a performance in mind and not just saturate the area with like fucking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meters of tunnel. Where we're going. Straight. It's the 19 meter. Let's get that back up. And my coffee cup's getting empty. It's been an hour, so you're going to have to bear with us for 5 minutes. I'm going to quickly go and grab some shit, and I will be back very, very soon. I'll just hire a message in chat. Apologies for keeping you waiting. We'll put a fresh cup of brew. Lazy fucking prefabbers. I'll be honest. Generally, where I've been heavy-handed with the sleepers in the past, the sewers are generally not somewhere you want to go on whole night. Not unless you've already been through and cleaned the whole fucking place out. And if that does become an issue, I mean, it's something we can always take into consideration and build around. But I don't know. I know zombies apparently dig and jump and have other means to get you. I don't know how effective just making the old shithole is these days. Right, and game lagging the fucking bits. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, they've all when they've fallen down, it used to take them time, but eventually it would dig through all sorts of stuff. But all the times we ever really played with these types of systems in the map, we never had sleepers, so it's hard to say. From testing, I don't think these are very friendly places to be. That's why I don't mind seeding as much loot and stuff like that. But I'd like a bigger system that maybe wasn't as dangerous, that would maybe entice people in and they get lost and then they panic. And, that's. Because let's be honest, in Alpha 12, being able to walk from one side of the city to the other, totally through sewers or the subway system, even though it was just a tiled grid and very repeated, was still a really fucking cool thing to be able to do. Right, ground level, and then so I guess the next step really is deciding, do we want to do a similar sort of thing under the 9-meter roads? Like, how's the initial sort of stretch of sewer going to look like? Because if I plan the city to be at its heart, I don't know, as an example, a 2x2 grid of city blocks, that's going to be 2 of these streets long. We don't want this wide road running everywhere. I might just make this, like, tap these off. Because we're going to have to make quite a few prefabs to make it all work, but it shouldn't be too hard to make that many using the pieces that we've got already. But what I want to do before I do anything, like really commit to making full sets of prefabs, is have a stab at making something that would just sit under a city block and join on 4 sides back into a system like this. Even if for now I made a piece that was designed to connect back to this on all 4 sides. We'll have the centre city block in a 3x3 grid, totally surrounded by the wider road maybe. And to be honest, it's not a bad sort of point to focus on, because we've still got the freedom to do whatever it is we want on that centre prefab, but we're going to kind of commit to this radius road around it. And then this will ultimately be the heart of how things are connected in the system for the sewers as well. Because I don't mind having a central loop of this bigger tunnel, but then having a much wider network of smaller tunnels that are a lot less block heavy. Where part of the fact that it's a big maze is a bit of the challenge, as opposed to just ramming it full of sleepers. the odd one or two dogs just well placed with in between a maze of tunnels could, you know, be a lot better than making someone kill 50 fucking soldiers or something. So I'm thinking, realistically, in the World Editor, I would place this street down on the northern side and place it down on the southern side without rotating it. It'll then get rotated once and then placed on the east side and once to be placed on the west side. So we're still going to end up with some fixed points for making sure that these line up. So to plan this out then, what we're going to need to do is start with the test prefab. And this is just so that we know what dimensions are right. I want to be roughly in the middle of the prefab when I paste this in. Actually, I don't. I want to be on this corner when I paste this in. I'm just going to copy that, create a new prefab. And we'll just paste that straight in there. Or do we? Yeah, let's just place that there for now. We'll get this saved. And X. As usual, save it in the properties so we can find it straight away. And put you in there. I'm in there. Save that, and then just remember to save that again. And the reason we do this is just to make sure that the prefab's recentered, the bounds and all that are set properly. And then we can double check that we don't have any stupid glitches and stuff. So let's take a back test. So you can see the prefab shifted slightly there. And that's just because the central point has changed. Right. So the next thing we need to do is get a section of that road in, just so we can see what we've got to work with. And this is where good preparation is really going to show. Now, I'm pretty sure it was the northern side that was on. That's a fucking big ass prefab, that. Lined up. Right. So I basically need to move this 1, 2, 3 levels up. So what I'm basically doing is I want to get this little island of land floating up to the point where it's going to match up nicely with the street. So then I can see exactly where the connectors need to be placed. I can see where I'm going to clip through the ground if I place things too high, that sort of thing. What I don't want to do is save anything until I'm ready though, because up until the point that I press save, I can move this street around, I can delete it, things like that. So what I'm going to do is delete it. And then we'll move the ground level, oh, not the ground level, the whole prefab, 1, 2, 3. And then we'll load that straight back in. Beautiful. So now we can actually start to have a little bit of fun. So the main thing I want is I want to convert these tunnels down into the very small single, what's color coded yellow in the master prefab. And I showed you the prefab before, that does it. And I think I'm just going to, for this initial test, is just use the same piece on all 4 sides. So now the prefab's going to spawn to the north and east. So we want to make sure. I mean, I'm not worried about clipping into this, but if I destroy any of that front face, I'm going to have a hard job lining things up. In which fucking prefab was it? Is it that one? Nope. Nope. Junction red, yellow. PYO2. Now I believe that's purple, yellow. That's what these letters are. I fucking hope. What we do is I'm just going to press X. Oh, and it was fucking the right way around. Right. Is that purple? I think it is. So if I put that right up against that, place it there, show the bounds. I must remember to paint all of the fucking pipes. We'll fix that shit as we go. Yeah, there's definitely, there'll be a gammy block with some stupid fucking metadata or some oh, there's water in this. Ah, so you'll see what I mean, the water kind of looks okay. But it will like flow out of this and save all we had and do other stupid shit. Right, that's on and obviously lined up. So what we can do now is just delete that prefab. And at this point, we've still got 2 separate prefabs. But now I'm just going to save this all into one because it's going to let we keep the height now. Otherwise, it would just trim all these air blocks off. because we've still got an issue here. With that layer of dirt. Now I wonder I'm sure I made all of those prefabs the same height. Right, fuck it, let's just save it anyway, we'll reload it and we'll fix anything that we need to. Right, I just want to get that street back in just to see what this looks like. Yeah, it's the one. Load into place. Yeah, that fits, so that means... Oh, then again, these are going to be sunk underground, so I suppose... I was just thinking I'm going to end up with a layer of air, but I'm actually not. Like, because we're not keeping... We don't have to keep this base, I'll probably delete this at the end. I mean, I could build something on it, but I mean... This is just so that we know what size we're working on. The actual project is going to be how the tunnels connect on the four sides. So that's okay. I'm happy. Let's not waste that while we've got it. Let's just zoom out. Get that way over this side. So again, that fits nicely. And then it's just a case of getting that prefab in again. And we know it spawns the right way. Jesus Christ, doesn't make things easier to see, does it? Get you on. Was it PY or something stupid, wasn't it? PY02. Lovely. Let's get rid of those just so to make sure it all fits. Yep, they line up nicely. But you'll see, like I was saying earlier on, because of the odd number width, this isn't going to line up perfectly. Oh, tell a lie, it does. Oh, because we haven't rotated the road, have we? Right. Okay, I'm confusing myself. That's certainly going to make things a bit easier then. Because obviously the most basic way to do this would just be to have a straight cross junction. And I suppose there's no reason why you couldn't. It's a bit bland, but... Excuse me. Right, well anyway, that's all lined up and nice. So let's get the bounds back on. And this now needs to move along and we'll rotate it. Just press X. Get that snapped up, line it up with this side, and then again, it's just a case of getting the other prefab in and lined up. We'll give ourselves a bit of space here because I'm not sure how many times we're going to have to rotate this one. But we do need to do it at least once. Yep, and just once. We'll place you remove the bounds. Yeah, it all lines up nice, it's all pretty. So we'll make the final one, we'll get that slid over to the opposite side. And then we're pretty much done with that prefab now. Oh. Get him in there. So you see I always position myself so the prefab spawns from the north and east. So even when it rotates, the first, I'll have to rotate it twice, but so load that into. So press an X will rotate it, and then again, and then again, and then we'll go got the yellow bit on the inside. That all lines up. So now we can just get rid of this street altogether. Let's save that in. And then let's reload it. So now we've got 4 connection points. We know how much sort of leeway we've got relative to the height of the city block. So everything's looking good. Now it's just a case of how do we want to connect these up. And from this point, I'm thinking I should maybe save this, because this could be the base that you copy into something else to save you having to do all that measuring and shit like that. Yeah, I've just caught what you've said there. Say, does it make the road unstable? As in, will it collapse if you walk over it? No, I believe there's enough blocks and enough supports in there. We done all sorts of shit. You got to think most of these sewer things are encased in concrete as well. But most of them have regular supports that cut all the way through. We'll still have to fly around with a bazooka and shoot some stuff, but just I think it should be fine. Right, and before I go any further, I'm just going to make a prefab from this prefab that just contains these 4 bits. And then we'll keep working on this city block tester. So I'm just going to save that, get rid of those. Because this will be useful. This will definitely be useful. I'm just going to copy that out. Make sure I'm in the right spot. we're going to create a new prefab. Press set there. Control V. Control V again. And there it is. So I'm going to save this one as X. So I need a better naming system, but at least at a glance we know this converts purple to yellow. It doesn't indicate which sides, so I might have to... It'll not matter too much, it's just when you're working through the editor like I was before, sometimes it's not clear from the thumbnail what things are, so... I suppose a combination of a weird name like this and a good thumbnail makes them easier to dig out. But I'm going to save that, and we want that. We're just going to keep this in the sewer category, I think. Please. Yeah, it's a bit of a shit thumbnail. I want to be able to see at least the yellow and the pink. Yeah, you can see what it is at a glance. If you come into the pack looking... Right, let's go back to there. This one. So again, we're just going to keep this on. Because, I mean, if ever you wanted to build a connector that was going to fit... Because at some point we're going to have to tackle how the fuck do we get in and out of the sewers, other than through big holes in damaged areas. So at some point we will be building something that's going to fit in here and join top to bottom. So it's handy to have this just sitting around until we're finished, and then we'll just delete it off. The issue that we still have with the Big C saying bring back the manholes, and it's like, yeah, the manholes were cool as fuck, but do them nicely and keep terrain blocks on the road. You've got to fuck around with the densities to the point where you still end up with mostly like a weird little diamond, or it just looks fucked up. You can make a passable version with just the in fact, is that not an actual manhole cover now? Sure, I remember. I don't know. Maybe I'm just fantasizing again. Right, so anyway, we've got this is now going to fit perfectly, assuming we rotate the initial section of road that we took these measurements from correctly, like in the same way. So only once for the east and west facing sides. But other than that, we've got 4 yellow connectors now, so it means we can go back into the master block and take a look at some of the options, because we've already got a yellow that splits 4 ways into yellow. We've got a couple of side rooms already. I already have things like corner pieces. We've even got a couple of sort of dungeon. In fact, could we incorporate? So let's look at this piece here. This was one part of the dungeon run. and it was designed to be these two pieces back to back, and it was kind of designed in some ways to be enterable from both sides, but the dungeon is only enterable from one at the beginning. But I wonder if we've got enough space to actually bring this through. Later, we're going through from this side. I'll show you what I mean. So this is the actual start of the dungeon itself, coming up into this area. And then it's a whole system of one door is open all the way through. Obviously, at this point, we enter the next section. And this is obviously similar to the system we've just looked at. It's just color-coded a different way. Blue basically means it's taller than the red, but connects to the yellow at the bottom. And that's the same throughout all of these. All of these have got the same sort of colour coding because they all have that initial tunnel. And that's part of the fun of this prefab, because other than dealing with all the sleepers and getting all the loots, you're constantly bouncing backwards and forwards across. And if you fall down there, you know, you're now part of a totally different fucking maze. That it can be quite frustrating. But there's a couple of points throughout here where again you're running across, you're shooting zombies, you're dealing with sleepers, you've got chances to fall off. And depending on how you design the system, to get all the way back to this point, or to this point, you know, means you're coming down this tunnel to a door like this. And this is what I meant before. You can get a lot of mileage out of a good old maze. And it's not like there's an insane amount of detail. You don't need like tons of loot or even hundreds of zombies. Just a few zombies, enough to keep you on your toes, surprise you in the dark. But I quite like this prefab, and it does not seem to have many issues at all, really. Must remember to paint the fucking pipes. It's going to be my new meme. I think this was meant to be like a little boss room, like a control room. And look at that. This one's even. So how about we try and incorporate this system? We'll put these two in together so they're touching. And then we'll place them so that this bit's still in the middle. Is that going to be possible? Looks a lot more than 50 odd blocks. Maybe that isn't going to be possible. Okay then, so the challenge is going to be, because I'm sure we can fit this under a single city block, if this is north to south, and then east to west, we'll make a zigzag. That just connects up to the other two. Is that the plan? I think it is. And to be honest, it shouldn't, once we've got the initial bits lined up, that shouldn't be too hard to do. The real question is, have I already made individual prefabs of them parts? Or do they just exist here to be copy-pasted? I think I'll probably just copy it over. Right, but before I do anything, I'm going to put you into the loo. I should be back in 30 seconds. And I'm back. So then getting these bad boys shifted over. Is there anything that needs... Right. I'm just going to have a quick skim through, see if there's any of these actually done. And don't think there actually is, to be honest. So they look about as tall as the other ones. I'm just going to copy that. Oh, this is north-south facing, so... And it's the wrong way around. I'll just rotate that, then copy that, delete it, and slide it along. I think we've definitely got enough space to put that other bit in. Easily. And the thing is, if areas like this end up really being heavy on the FPS, they don't have to be underneath every single city block. But you could still have a lengthy, even more dynamic and unique system as opposed to going for a grid or a tile. But for now, that looks pretty cool. So I'm just going to save, remove the internal textures, and let's get back into the master prefab and get that second piece copied out. And then once this bit's in, we've got a better idea of what sort of space we're working with and how we're going to connect the east and west sides. Because this doesn't have to connect at the top, it'll just join to the yellow bit, so let's just copy this out. And this would be an example. I mean, this is, like I say, it's laid out to have a little dungeon just hiding underneath it. Not every single city block needs to have a dungeon underneath, you know, some can just be simple tunnels, broken tunnels, open tunnels. So I'm just going to copy that out. And let's get back into here. And then basically, and it was backward, wasn't it? So I'm going to have to shouldn't hit anything there. Nope. Oh, right, a bit there. Is that right? No, it's rotating. Yeah, so the tunnel itself isn't out by that much. You know, I idea of having a long view down one way, but then only being able to see just to the corner, that's probably going to be about here, the other way. So for this, that's fit into the road tunnel. So I'm pretty sure for the most part I can copy from about there. And again, when we're doing this, we're going to have a lot of wasted textures here that are going to be eating up resources, so we're going to have to make sure that we clean them up when we're done. Yeah, so there we go. That's one direct connection from one side to the other. So, you know, we're nearly 2 hours in, but excuse me. Oh, fuck's sake, what the hell have I fucking copied here? What have I copied here? Right, okay. So let's copy this from there. To here. Ha 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 ha. Fuck's sake, I'm just making problems for myself now. Where's that fucking undo button? There we go. Right, let's do that again. It's just one layer, not two. Let's just go. Now, the other thing to consider is we're going to have to copy A blocks, which means that we might have to be a bit more careful about how we do this. Because we obviously want the tunnels there, but what I'm thinking is, what about this space here? And you think, oh yeah, well okay, we'll just fill that with terrain filler. Does that then mean we've got to fill all of this with terrain filler? So I think realistically then, for this to work properly, we can keep this piece here as a single prefab, and then we can make 2 smaller pieces designed just to fit here. And then it means I can terrain fill this little blob. Do that. That shouldn't interfere too much with anything. I don't like the idea of saving like 100,000 blocks in a small prefab that has nothing in it just to stop an air pocket. I think at that point you kind of need to think, no, we need to just break it down somehow. But we can make a relatively small prefab that lines up here. I mean, it's not in question really. So I suppose when it comes to building in this little workspace, it's building one complete thing that does work, and then how you're going to chop it up and deliver it into the map is going to be the other half. But still, being able to cover an entire city block with sewer by placing 3 prefabs, maybe? You know, if you factor in this piece here, and however it joins is going to be about that size. It'll be as wide as this bit. So we're going to have a bit of terrain filler in there, but not too much. And then obviously its equivalent on the other side. So we've got corner sections already made for these tunnels. What we don't have though is a tight corner section like what we're going to need. So let's see how we're going to copy paste this. I'm just going to save that one there now. I think it's on the master actually. Yep, there it is. Huh, it's actually a T-junction. Is that the corner? Yes. It's like, oh my god, I haven't saved the prefab. It's like, no. Just haven't loaded the right one. Right. Okay, so that's working at the minute. Right, this is going to probably take a little bit of trial and error. Yes, thank fuck for that. So then, can I get it? Need it one more down from you. Now this bit just needs moved along. Just need to move along a bit more than that. And that just means little bits like this. Yeah. Yeah. I need like what, 5 blocks? So that can go straight against there, and that'll be the channel. Copy you, delete. Oh man. There we go. I think we need to bring this out one more. Something still doesn't feel right. What the fuck is that? Console. Ah, right, okay, we need to fix that as well. So it needs to come like down 1 and in about 3. Let's just delete that. Bring it down 1, 1, 2, 3. Paste it back in. It's still off by 1. Left a slice of wall there. The important thing is just to get these entrances and tunnels lined up, because with a little bit of copy and paste we can make all these gaps, fill them in quite quickly. It's things like the corner piece here is slightly off. Oh no, 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 we want there. Yeah. Just going to delete that altogether. So it comes along. Ah, it's still out. So that means this. Up until here. Right, so how's it looking now? Kind of okay. We just need to do this shit. Oh, for fuck's sake. Press Control and C again. That is no right. There isn't a corner there. Right, let's just get this tidied up. Because it was a bit of an awkward little tight bend that we had there to deal with. Right, you look okay. You look okay. We just need to get those ramps in there. Things look up. What the fucking... Oh, God. Why is it the one time, the one little slice that I choose to copy and paste just happens to have, like, the fucking trash can and... For the most part, they're okay. That's going to be a simple fix. I can probably... get 4 blocks on it. So what? Ah, I need to delete this piece, man. Right, so I want that corner, don't I? It needs to line up with this one, which should be that. Almost, fuck's sake. Try that one. That's better. So we'll get these last little bits of tunnel connected up here. As it happens, we've got a perfect oh, fuck's sake. Press Ctrl and C again. Ctrl and C. Well. So now we just need that niggly little corner piece. Tell you what, 4x4. So this tunnel line, it's going to line up. This tunnel's almost. Then we'll just get them two joined and we're pretty much almost done. Let's nick this. Copy that. There we go. So we are going to have to terrain fill that shit there. Definitely poses an interesting question on how to chop this up. So like I say, we're going to end up with some big chunky terrain filled areas if we're not too careful. Right, you're working okay. So let's. We've got to tidy it up anyway, so I'm just gonna. Need 4. Interesting. Fucking, it's off by 1 block, man. Come on. Right, okay. Yeah, this isn't really going to matter, so what I want to do, if I shuffle this along, I'm not going to leave air blocks. No, I shouldn't, but I am going to have to strip the textures, so let's just copy that. That along 1, paste it straight back in. So that now lines up. That's okay. We're still missing them too, but that's fine. But now it means that we can, I believe, slice that straight off. Right then. So I'll come back and approach like the lights and the decorations before we finalise anything, but for now, just ends in a dead end. Interesting. Ah, because that's the dungeon, right. I can't remember how I'd fully joined all these up. But yeah, it gets quite intense, that one. But for the most part, I mean, especially for those who've been following since the beginning, you know, you can kind of see we don't want this under every single city block, really, do we? But I think planning a route like this through the city, if you can imagine an underground highway where it's not necessarily a fixed sort of pattern, but it has a route that you use. And then it means you've got a lot more freedom to just modify sections to build your own little runs off or whatever it is you want to do. But we're getting to just 2.5 hours now, and I'm getting absolutely starving. You've got to remember I was working on this morning as well. Initially I had planned to shrink the road, play around with the size of the sewer, which is why I've got this 18-metre wide test version. Just save this. Yeah, look familiar? This is where we started. But yeah, I had toyed around with changing the road size slightly from 19 to 18 blocks, but nah, it just wasn't going to work. But like I say, I'm starting to get hungry now, so what I'll probably do is fix up this last little piece off stream, and then next time we'll maybe get this into the World Editor, and then we'll have a look at the finished product of a city block surrounded by roads with a vanilla prefab in the middle and this underneath, and we'll have a little look, see what well, one, see how it looks, see if there's any like obvious problems or issues, because I still think having to fill all this shit in with terrain filler is it's a lot of crap in the prefab that doesn't really need to be there, so to speak, if we make it out of little pieces. So we'll have to see, because it might potentially mean manually having a single connector like this placed in and then place your little bit, because if we attach all this as one big prefab, we're going to have to deal with all of this space here as well, if we copy A blocks, which we're going to have to. So yeah, I'll get this finished up, and then I'll save a little bit of the testing for the next stream. But yeah, we'll try and focus more on the World Editor next time and see what it looks like in game. Maybe even have a little fanny on with some sleepers and stuff like that. But thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share as well. The prefab pack downloads are all on. There's links in the description for everything. If you've got any questions, hit us up in the comments, hit us up on the forums. And until the next time though, I shall catch you later on.